Have you ever lost sleep over a Facebook post or an Instagram reel or even a text message that someone sent you? Have you spent hours playing the what if game in your head, thinking of a million different scenarios of how you would have or should have done things differently or what you would have liked to say when your brother in law or your sister or your neighbor made that flippant judgment about you? Do you still hold a grudge from something someone did or said to you in middle school or high school or on your wedding day? Well, guess what? Today is your day. I would like to invite you to the rest of your life of emotional freedom. Welcome to Burnout Solutions, a podcast designed to help high achievers and healthcare professionals understand stress and how it can lead to burnout. Together, we'll explore how your brain and nervous system naturally work and why they sometimes hold you back, and how to overcome those challenges to fully enjoy the success you've worked so hard to create. I am your host, Mona Tippett, registered nurse, burnout coach, and resiliency educator. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we are talking about something that I am excited to talk about, and that is emotional freedom, emotional independence. I thought with the 4th of July coming up, this would be a fun little podcast to do. And even if it's not 4th of July, when you are listening to this, it doesn't matter. This is a great thing to implement anytime. And the past podcasts that I have done have really focused on nervous system work. And today's topic is a little bit more of things that I do with life coaching and concepts that I learned in life coach school, with some, of course, nervous system information mixed in with it. So I am excited to talk about emotional independence today and taking back our emotions. And I just really feel like it's a powerful topic. And what even is emotional independence? Well, I have often been guilty of giving my remote control of my emotions to other people. So maybe my toddlers or my teenager or my spouse or neighbor or coworker. And depending on what they do affects how I feel inside. And I give them the remote control to say, oh, today you're sad. Oh, today you're happy. Oh, today you're mad. And if you have ever been stuck playing maybe old family dynamics, or you struggle to stay grounded and regulated when you're triggered by your child or a neighbor, this episode is for you, and I hope you can relate. This used to be me all the time. I was very reactive. I would spend lots of hours of my day, often actually, thinking about things that bothered me and trying to change things and other people. And my mind even had its favorite go-to stories that it loved to play on repeat, where I was the victim of other people's choices and behaviors. And it was all their fault that I was an emotional mess. And this really is codependency, right? When you need other people to act and feel and be a certain way so that you can feel better inside. And again, I totally get it. We want people to act like us and think like us. And wouldn't life just be better if people agreed with us and didn't call us out and didn't speak negatively about us? And that would be great, but that's not how life is. In the past, I didn't really know how to love and accept other people for their different political opinions and for them eating differently and speaking differently and just believing their core values, just their core values are different than mine. And I was accepting, maybe on the outside, but I was unaware that I could love people completely and authentically and accept their differences and love them. And I came to learn that really there's nothing wrong when people, vote differently than us and act differently. And when I'm triggered by something that somebody does, the problem is inside myself. The problem is my own ability to regulate those emotions inside of me that were stimulated or triggered by something that somebody else did. And so this is what we're talking about today. And I want people to know that There's nothing wrong with you if you don't know this. I don't actually know how people do know this. This was not modeled to me. I was not taught this in nursing school and training in anywhere except life coach school. And I do love the version of me years ago because of how I was. That's actually how I found life coaching. And I went to life coach school and I did all my learning. And then I went into a deep dive about the nervous system. And now that I'm on the other side of things, again, so much is better. And I love seeing this change in my clients as well. And so I'm hoping today that I can help you out just a little bit. This is a lot of coaching and giving you tips on how to just reclaim your emotional agency with a little bit about how the nervous system plays a role in that so that you finally can become the one in charge of how you feel no matter what life throws at you. So, grab your laundry basket, put on your walking shoes, whatever, just get comfy and let's just get into it. So, one of the first concepts that I teach in the Mind Firm method with nervous system resilience, which is one of the programs that I teach, the very beginning session and concept that we go over is emotional independence or emotional freedom or agency. And I talk about how there are two gifts that everybody is born with. Every single one of us who comes into the world has these two powerful gifts, and they are agency and intuition. And agency really means that you get to choose how you live, how you respond, what you believe. It allows you to have your own perception, and you get to choose the life that you want to live. Isn't that amazing? Totally amazing. Intuition is your second gift, and that is your internal compass. Some people call it your conscience, your gut feeling, your spiritual guidance, whatever you want to name it. It's the higher inside of you that knows something. So again, a lot of us were never taught this, or if we were, it didn't really sink in that you are allowed to think and feel on purpose. You do not have to react to what other people do. You get to choose and respond with intention. You are the creator of your life, and that's really what emotional independence is all about. However, before we dive into choosing with intention, because these are very thought-related things, I want to throw in there that nervous system dysregulation can steal our freedom. And this is something that has to be addressed if you really do want to be emotionally independent. We need to work on our nervous system regulation. And again, this wasn't something that I learned in life coach school. I'm combining it with information I learned in my nervous system training. And this is what has made a huge difference to me is first, we understand our nervous system, and then we can think about our thoughts and being intentional. Because the state of your nervous system is the lens that you see life through. I think we've either been there or know people who are anxious or are overwhelmed or frustrated, and everything looks worse to them in their life. When we're frustrated, burned out, overwhelmed, things, even the littlest tasks seem overwhelming. Even the littlest tasks seem frustrating to us and put us outside of our window of tolerance because our window of tolerance is so narrow. So understand that being dysregulated is something that really prevents us from being able to access our agency or our intuition. And in that moment, you're no longer driving the car of your life. You're in the passenger seat and trying just not to crash because your logical brain is not working at its best. So when I talk about emotional independence, this is a hybrid of nervous system regulation and brain rewiring. Okay, so let's just dive into it. When you have something that happens that you're triggered or you freak out about, the first thing to realize is that you have gone outside your window of tolerance. And this is an indicator that there is work that you need to do. This isn't something that somebody else did that made you mad. This is a trigger. I mean, it is, but what it triggered inside of you is work that you need to do. Something is going on that needs your attention. Something needs to be resolved. And a lot of this is past painful learning or part of our blueprint or something that bothers us about ourselves. And this person just happened to bring it up. So maybe you don't believe me, but let's go into it. So when something happens, and I'm just going to use an example as we go through this, a personal example. Several months ago, I got a text message from somebody who is kind of close to me, and it was very short. It was about 15 words long, and it was really quite hurtful. And it was fascinating because within seconds, my heart was beating really quickly, my hands were shaking, my breath was fast and shallow, and my body actually was preparing to protect itself. It was in fight or flight. And I thought that was interesting because truly there's no emergency. I'm literally in my kitchen by myself, safe in my home. Like words through a text cannot hurt me. But something from my past painful learning, something was triggered inside of me, and I was accused of something. And it was pretty hard. And anyway, we'll come back to that. First of all, I'm realizing that I am dysregulated, and I can feel in my body that I am. So that's the first part, is just knowing that I'm dysregulated. Was the person I was talking to dysregulated? Yes. How could I tell? Even through a text, because they were name calling. There were toddler-like words in this text. So first, I was dysregulated. The other person was dysregulated. And chances are almost 100% that anytime you're triggered by something somebody said, is that one of you are dysregulated, if not both. Otherwise, we wouldn't be bothered. I love Dr. Gentry. He says, when we can mean what we say and say what we mean without saying it mean, then we are regulated. But a lot of us can't do that. We yell out threats. We yell out name calling. We do things where we are not regulated. And so just the awareness of, hey, I'm dysregulated, you're dysregulated, for me, brings so much compassion and understanding for myself and other people. However, we're not going to stop there, because emotional independence is about taking care of our emotions so that we are in control of who we want to be and feel. So we're going to keep going. So after we decide that we are dysregulated or we have a dysregulating experience, what I encourage you to do is first is write down a mindful release. Some people call this a thought download. This is where you just write down everything that happened. You write down what was said, who said it, how you feel about it. This is where we get very, very detailed. Our brain clings to details. It records how people look. It records their tones. And if we can get as clear as possible, that will help us. There's no judgment here of what you're thinking or feeling. There's no right or wrong. We're just writing things down. So the first is, I encourage you to take a few minutes and write this down. And maybe you think, oh, I don't have time for this. Well, do you really have time to spend your emotional energy throughout the day coming back over and over to the story again and again? I don't think so. I mean, sometimes these things happen to just pop up every day in our brains for weeks, for months, for even years. And so if we just take the time to get this out to help make sense of it, we can move on. Step one, am I dysregulated? Are they dysregulated? And that just brings a lot of awareness. Step two is to write down a mindful release and get very detailed in what happened. Once we have written down what happened, we are going to kind of dissect this a little bit. And the first I want you to ask is, for you, because we can only control ourselves, are my physical needs being met? Like, am I physically dysregulated? I encourage you to do this exercise when you are physically regulated. So have you slept? Do you need to eat? Do you need to take medication or supplements or have a shower? Or do you need to exercise or go for a walk first? Because our body and our emotions are closely connected. And so when we can help get ourselves into our own window of tolerance and into a good place, this exercise works a lot better. Next, let's just ask about this situation. Who is this person in my life? Like, what is my relationship with them? Is this just a random billboard or a random comment I saw on Facebook from a stranger? Is it, just somebody I saw in the grocery store or somebody who yelled at me driving down the street? Because really, if you don't have that much contact with them, I really encourage you to let this go because for sure you don't want to give the remote control of your emotions to a stranger that you're never going to see again. And just help your brain calm down that they don't know you. It's okay for them to be wrong about you. And we really don't want them to have control over us. However, more often than not, in my experience and in my clients' experiences, that the things that really bother us are with people that we will see again and again. We have that neural connection, neural wire connection, and we are seeing them time and time again. So the first is just establish a relationship. Who is this person and how much mental and emotional energy do I want to put into this situation? The third, and I think this is actually pretty important, is to accept that you want to love them. And in some ways, in a lot of ways, we want to be loved, accepted, validated, and seen. And I believe we want to do the same for others because we are all humans and we have that human need and long to connect and that drive to protect. But we want to feel love and gratitude because those emotions are our highest vibration. And you can say, no, I don't want to love perfect strangers. I don't want to love the jerk that flipped me off. Okay, whatever. You can think that. And maybe that's not where you are yet, but I think that's where we all want to get and where we're headed. Okay, the next thing is we are really going to dive into our mindful release and say, am I telling myself a story or am I sticking to the facts? When we are dysregulated, we tend to spiral in our mind. This is where there's drama, there's assumptions, there's exaggerations. So I often rewrite down direct quotes or what actually happened. And I'm going to tell you, stick to the facts. Facts are very, very boring. Facts are short. Facts don't have adjectives. They don't have thought distortions. They don't use never or always or any sort of our interpretation is excluded from the facts. It's always our story that causes us pain and grief. And this matters because we do not get emotionally hijacked by facts, but by the stories that our brain tells us. These stories often hit an old wound or our insecurities or bring up our past painful learning. And that's when, a current situation activates something in your nervous system from your blueprint or just your past that was unsafe or good or bad. And this is just bringing it up again. So write down the facts. Facts can also be agreed on by everybody. They are agreed on, they can be proven in the court of law. Like it's super facty and get really specific. In this situation, even with this text message that I got, I could have taken a poll of 100 people, and I guarantee you 100 people, or at least 99, would have been on my side. And I could say, do you think X, Y, and Z is right or wrong? And I would guess that 100 of them would say, I believe that is wrong. And that was the perception I was taking. But guess what? That is still our perceptions. In the past, maybe in history, maybe that's different. Maybe in a different country, that fact in air quotes, is not a fact. And it's also important to remind ourselves that when we get into right and wrongville, it just sets us up for judging our perceptions as being better. And the brain would rather be right than happy. So just remember that. All arguments are about being right. Let's keep that in mind. Okay, so sticking to the facts. The next is we're going to go into emotions. And you can ask yourself, am I resisting or processing my emotions? I don't know how people have ever learned how to do this. I never was taught this. This was never modeled to me. So I don't know how you know how to process emotions. A lot of us either avoid emotions, we explode them, we blame them on other people, we emotionally vomit on others, or we express our emotions through slamming doors, stomping our feet, etc., That's not processing. That is just reacting to the emotional energy we feel in our body. So, part of emotional freedom means that we're becoming aware of what we're feeling. We name it and we allow it to move through us instead of bottling it up or vomiting it out. This is where we identify where in our body we're feeling this emotion. And what does it look like? What does it feel like? Where in our body are our muscles tight? If we could give it a color, what color would it be? Is it a fast moving emotion? Is it slow? Just describe the emotion as much as you can and process it in your body. That's what processing it is. Also, I want you to understand that there are no right or wrong emotions. There are no good or bad emotions, and it's okay to feel any of them. Also, your perception is very real, and it's okay to feel that way. So this is where we validate our side of the story. We validate the emotion that we feel because of our side of the story. This is where we work on this ourselves. In the past, maybe you've done this. I certainly have. And I tell like 100 people this story and I say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. I'm so sorry for you. And I get validation from other people that I am right. And I do suggest that you have a few close people that you can share things with when things get really tough, but use caution, don't burn them out. And you don't need to do this. You can do this on a piece of paper. You can write this down. There's no danger with you and a piece of paper, and you're not potentially hurting other people or damaging a relationship. So this part is where we, again, are validating our own experience and also know that everybody else is entitled to their own experience. This is a concept that I've just drilled into myself the last 2 years. Everybody can live and breathe and act and do exactly what they want to. I use this a lot in my parenting. My kids can choose to live how they want to. In healthcare, your patients can choose to follow your medical advice or not. They can choose to take their medication. They can choose to eat whatever the heck they want and deal with the consequences of their lab values. People get to choose their own experience. And when we can acknowledge, hey, this is my experience and this is their experience, that helps validate ourselves and also give them the airtime that they need. So the next part is, let's just say what part of what they said is true. And a lot of times, if we didn't believe a tiny bit of what they said was true, it wouldn't bother us. Is there anything right about what they said? And write that down. What part of what they said is true or partially true? Or can I see how they are coming to that conclusion? Or can I see that perception? Just opening up our mind into seeing how other people see things helps me release the tight grip on how I see and feel and cling to my perception. And then you can ask, what is wrong about what they said? What are you going to decide to disagree with? And really, what is bothering you about why they said it and why were you triggered by it? In this situation with this text message, I actually could see her perception. She was accusing me of judging her. And I was like, yeah, actually, I am. I am taking my own moral compass and my own beliefs and my own perceptions and casting it out and believing that because you have very similar values and standards and ways of life that I do, I believe that you would see this perception the same way that I do. And this was not true. And she was calling me out on this. And so me opening up my mind, I'm like, actually, she's totally right. I am judging her. So the other thing, though, is I disagree with this person's perception. I disagree with the way that she is seeing things, and that's okay. Also here, you can say, hey, they were wrong. Hey, they hurt me, and maybe they did. But remember, living in this space forever, staying the victim, staying the person that's getting called out, that can become a full-time job, and that's what we don't want to do. Emotional freedom doesn't mean denying what happened or denying your experience or their experience. It just means refusing to let these experiences hurt you. Which brings me to the next part. This is where we now get to reclaim our power. So we check in with ourselves and say, how do I want to feel in this situation? What can I learn from this? Turning hurt into wisdom is really what life is all about. And this is where you stop waiting for an apology, for understanding, for justice. You might never get those things, but you can still choose your beliefs and your behaviors. You can say, hey, I was treated unfairly, and I'm going to choose to be different. I'm going to turn pain into wisdom. This is using our agency. This is being an agent of ourselves. This is where we get to act and not be acted upon. This is where we get to live intentionally and choose how we are going to act. I wish we could change other people, but I know that it's hard enough to change myself. The only person I can control is me and where I see things and what I want to feel. And that is totally in my power. I can choose to act how I want to. I can choose to respond kindly. I can choose to set a boundary. I can choose to act in a way that I want to. And this brings me to one of the final things is just let love be the final word. From a nervous system standpoint, love and connection is regulation. And when we can live and carry love, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, we raise a vibration in our own body. This is where we can heal, not because other people deserved it or they need it, but because we do. We deserve to have the highest vibrational energy in our bodies. And that is what I love about this whole process is it brings me back to a way that I want to feel inside. You can love those who hurt you, even if they never change. You can love them and have boundaries. You can love them and say, wow, that was wrong. And you don't have to pretend and you don't have to stay stuck. And also know that when they show up or do crazy again, meaning they're doing the same thing that they've always done, we're not surprised. This is a little trick that our brain plays on us when something happens. And I love helping my clients with this all the time. And a client will say, oh, so-and-so did X, Y, and Z. And I will ask them the question, okay, is that normal for that person to do that? Or is this something that is surprising? And they say, oh no, they always do this. That's just how they are. They always say things like this. And I want to remind them, okay, well, just tell your brain, don't be surprised by this. If that is how they always, in air quotes, act, then we don't have to be surprised. We don't have to take offense. We don't have to judge them and be offended that they say things like that. So that also helps me take out the hurt and the surprise when we just can shift our perception to say, okay, they are allowed to do that. They are allowed to keep choosing that pattern. They are allowed to keep doing that for whatever reason, but I am not going to let that bother me. And we care for that part that still might hurt and just know that we cannot change that person, but we can have compassion and love if we want to. And we can offer that compassion and love and choose it over and over and over again. Okay, so just a quick recap of when we're triggered or we're dysregulated and we want to take back our emotional freedom. We first understand, are we dysregulated? Are they dysregulated? Just understanding that can bring more compassion and love to the situation. And then we can ask ourselves, am I regulated right now trying to solve this emotional issue? Because we want to be regulated so that we have our logical brain online and we can problem solve and use compassion and curiosity and connection. And then meet our physical needs. And then we ask ourselves, who is this person and what is my relationship with them? How much emotional energy and time do I really want to invest in this? And then remember that I believe we eventually want to love them, even strangers. Then we talk about the facts versus the story or our perception. And we separate those out. Remember, facts can be proven in the court of law. Facts do not use adjectives or any thought distortions. They don't use never, always. They're not taken personally. They're very short and boring. And then we acknowledge and accept our perception and our emotion. We validate ourselves if we need to. And then we can ask ourselves, what part of what they said is true? Or can I understand how they are perceiving this? What part of what they said was not true? And what am I choosing to disagree with their perception on? And getting out of victimville and getting out of right and wrongville. These are just perceptions, and everybody's entitled to have their own. And then we reclaim our power and say, who do I want to be in the situation? How do I want to live with intention? What core values am I going to draw on to make a choice? And then love be the final word, with holding boundaries, with staying in regulation. When we can offer ourselves and others compassion and forgiveness, it raises the vibrational, emotional energy in ourselves. And that's why we do all of this. So I hope that this was helpful. This, for me, has given me huge emotional freedom. I have seen it work in my clients. And I want you to remember that this doesn't mean that we never get triggered. This means that we notice it, we care for it, we care for ourselves, and then we decide, who do I want to be? What do I want to believe? And when we do this, I believe you can stop being hijacked and you can start to live with intention, and you respond instead of react. I can sleep much better. I can be more dominant over my own brain. And when it keeps offering me thoughts, oh, and then remember when, nope, we're done with that story. We're moving on. We've digested it and processed it. And so my day and my life is more peaceful. Remember that you're still human and you will still feel things, but now you can know what to do with those feelings. And that, my friend, is emotional freedom and emotional independence. I really would love to hear from you if you tried this out and if it worked. And if you have any questions, I will say this does take a lot of practice. This is what I help my clients do every week. This is what I help them walk through and take and separate out these specific instances over and over again. I would love to help you. I'd love to coach you. It's like my favorite thing in the world to do. And happy 4th of July. If it's not 4th of July, happy Take Back Your Own Emotional Freedom Day. And I hope this is just helps you process your emotions, regulate your nervous system, and help you feel better. If this did help, I would love for you to share it with a friend, leave a review. It just helps others find this work and help them on a path to more peace, less burnout, less overwhelm, less stress. And if you ever feel like you're ready to go deeper, you can just check out my website. In the fall, I am opening up my group program again, Mind for Method with Nervous System Resilience, where I teach these tools step by step. And this helps create a life that you love from the inside out. Anyway, thanks for being here. And until next time, just keep showing up for yourself. And remember, you are the agent of your life and you always have been. So take care. Thanks for tuning in to Burnout Solutions. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I would appreciate it if you could rate and review so other people can find this podcast easier. And when you're ready to stop working harder and start working differently, head on over to my website at www.monatippets.com. That's TIPPETS. And grab my free resources on rewiring your brain and nervous system for less stress and more ease. Hope to connect with you soon. Take care.